That was definitely you if there was a pause.
Yeah,
anyway,
StarCraft was not responding for a moment. We're in, Clayton.
Thank goodness, but we are back in. Let's go ahead and introduce our players for one final series today.
Oh, yes.
In the top right-hand side of Pillars of Gold LE, it is our red Zerg player. His name is Erik.
Dun, dun, guitar solo. And his opponent in the bottom left, representing Alpha X's Latin American side with a little bit of spice. He is the blue Zerg player from Brazil. Probably it's eGGz.
Brazil, probably try again. eGGz is Colombian. Erik.
Sugar.
Erik is our Brazilian player in this series.
Colombia.
You got a good guess, though. There are, of course, 3 Brazilian players in the LATAM region qualified. Kelliger and the Zerg Lord in Group A, and Erik, our 3rd Brazilian player here in Group B. The only country with more representation is Mexico, which has Cham.
I knew they weren't Mexican.
Rising and Special. eGGz is the only non-Mexican or Brazilian player.
Wow.
He is, of course, Colombian.
Colombia.
You got it. Yeah, I'm not sure if you were listening when I casted Latin America earlier, but I was saying I always, in my head, there's an old Saturday Night Live sketch where they talk about Colombian decaffeinated coffee crystals.
Yes,
and
I know the sketch, and I have the same. I cannot say Colombia like a human. I go Colombia.
Colombia. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Well, we're really excited to have these players here. Guys, we're in Group B now for the Latin American event. Obviously, the A stream, I believe, is going to start with the Zerg Lord versus Cham, finishing up Group A. But we're moving on to Group B. Of course, the Latin America qualifier, the Latin America bracket stage is slightly different than those EU bracket stages. Grant, do you want to elucidate the people back home as to how these are different?
Yeah, of course. So, over here in Latin America, we do not have 4 8-man groups. We have 2 4-man groups, and they are GSL-style groups. So what's gone on here is yesterday we played the first matchups in Group B with Erik and eGGz losing against... come on, Grant, you can do this.
Nope, try again.
Cham and Special, respectively. I think that's right.
Jim Rising.
Jim Rising, damn! Jim Rising and Special, of course it was, respectively. So now this is the elimination match. They will then go on later tonight on the main stream. The winner, the survivor, so to speak, will play for their life. I believe it is later on tonight, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. We're going to wrap up all of Latin America's group stages tonight to see which 2 players will make it out of each group, meaning which 4 players total will make it down to that playoffs bracket. So there's a lot to play for here. Latin America always goes by in a flash, Grant.
Yes,
but this game doesn't look like it's going to go through in a flash at all. We've got the 3rd base down already for eGGz. Erik on 2 bases, though, and Erik going for Carapace upgrade, suggesting he might want to stay on Ling Bane for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Or if he goes Bane at all.
Yeah, we've not seen a Baneling nest, which is a little bit surprising, but just mass Ling with Carapace, very, very effective, because, of course, he's going to get that. Oh, Roach Warren.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roach Warren.
So, Roach is, with that Carapace upgrade, able to trade much longer, over a longer period of time. We can see the 3rd here of eGGz, much quicker than that of Erik. Erik instead opting to go for those upgrades to get that Roach Warren a little bit faster, as eGGz still not started his off just yet, instead just sitting on an Evo chamber. But for now, there we go. Roach Warren will come down. Good.
The real question now is lair tech and when that is going to happen. If either player is able to get their lair up and rolling, they can get Roach speed quite quickly. But of course, we don't have either player rushing up to Roach speed just yet. A little bit of Ling pressure here on the front door of Erik, but eGGz is going to get chased away to this 3rd base, spots the timing and says, oh, good, my 3rd base way ahead of this. And look at this, a bit of damage as those Lings poke away. Will get chased away by Erik as Erik's speed is not yet finished. eGGz should be able to make a clean getaway. Oh, nice. Bring his reinforcements in.
Yeah, eGGz going to get those reinforcements in, get a wrap around and trade. Okay, for a while, he has just lost an Overlord, but although it does look like an Overlord kill, may go down on the other side as well to even things up. To return fire here. We can see a lot of Lings being made right now by eGGz. 20 more in production. That's going to put him up right now into the 30s almost. He's losing a few in the middle of the map here, getting caught out. Erik right now does have 18 Lings. And hardly any Roaches, despite the Roach Warrens both being completed.
Very interesting choice from eGGz to cut drones at about 33. He's just adding one more on now, but he's not even going to fully saturate that third base. Just using it for larva. Looks like he wants to hit a pretty strong timing. Erik's getting on top of that third base, but honestly, I'd be surprised if eGGz wastes too much time defending this. Just going to chase these lings away and probably head across the map right now. 30 army supply to 24, but he's going to be very surprised when Erik cranks out a lot more roaches behind this. Erik, not that far behind, but neither player with roach speed yet, so no one really willing to commit full-time to roaches.
Yeah, we do have the upgrade advantage right now sitting in favor of Erik. Excuse me, he does have that carapace upgrade. Only about 30 seconds left on that though, so it doesn't look like that's going to be able to be exploited, but his second upgrade as well is going to be, there is a bigger window there. His +1 range already about halfway done, so he'll be at 1-1, whereas his opponent is just at +1 range weapons, finishing off now. And we can see eGGz actually is starting to drain up very, very heavily. He's going to pull ahead, going to the mid-40 drones here. Erik is only making units, he's getting his roach speed. I think Erik may be looking for some pressure in the next minute or two.
He definitely is with roach speed finishing up as well as +1 and pneumatized carapace, interestingly. Maybe some dropper lords in play later. It can't just be for scouting. But I think if it is just for scouting, it's going to be very useful because eGGz has not yet started that roach speed, has not really committed to anything on the ground just yet besides the +1 missile attacks. And since he just finished up his lair, oh man, I thought he might be going for a spire or something a little bit more interesting. But as the lair finishes up, roach speed and +2 go on the way. It looks like both these players now officially locked into this roach versus roach war. Grant, do you see an advantage in any way for either of these players?
Yeah, I think the upgrade advantage, as I previously mentioned here, for Erik is going to pay off. He has a little bit more army supply, but his worker count is lower. You can see +2 has now started up for eGGz, but there is now an upgrade deficit. An upgrade deficit's when you've got the exact same thing in similar numbers. It's huge. That extra carapace upgrade is going to pay off in dividends. And Erik should be clicking. He should be looking. It looks like he has. He doesn't want to be taking any of these bios. Does manage to dodge the first one. That's the fight now coming in outside the third of eGGz.
Yeah, another thing we can't be overstated is in the previous CVZ what we had, which was roach speed, of course, finished up for Erik as well, allowing him to get slightly better positioning in this map. It looks like his roaches are going to get pushed back, though. eGGz has the defender's advantage, so Erik needs something more than just a +1 upgrade and speed advantage to push into that third base. It's just too easy for Zerg players to reinforce with round after round of roaches. A couple dropper lords are, in fact, on the way for Erik, though, at the 9 o'clock, and it looks like he's going to drop into the main and try and put some pressure on the third at the same time.
Yeah, I really like this. Because he has that upgrade advantage, he can afford to take a slightly less efficient fight down here at the third with lower numbers. Not this inefficient, though. He is doing a good job of baiting eGGz out of the base. eGGz right now has nothing at home. Oh, he does? Oh, he does? But is it enough?
Just
no,
the queen.
It's not going to be enough here. As 8 roaches pop out. Oh, I don't know, Creighton. It looks like there could be a lot of damage here. Reinforcements will need to be rallied. Queen goes down. There is a spine.
Yeah, there's a spine here, a couple reinforcements from the natural. That's the one thing. I love when you see roach versus roach insert. It reminds me a lot of when a Terran player does bio. There are just so many reinforcements streaming out from the main and natural at all the time. It makes drop play really difficult. You really have to sort of go much heavier on drop play than you otherwise would, just because you know your opponent's going to have a standing, not a standing army at home, but will have enough units popping out that reinforcement happens right away. That defender's advantage, so strong when you're cranking out a lot of low expense, high value units. Spire, though, about to finish up for Erik and Grant. He's got a fair amount of minerals in the bank. Not as much gas as he might like, though.
Yeah, it is a very low number. You really want to be able to make between 6 and 10 meters immediately for either counter pressure or to start trading relatively efficiently. A good fight here from Erik. Upgrade advantage has sort of evened out. +2 carapace here for eGGz now, whereas Erik just sitting at 1-1, and Erik has actually stopped upgrades. I'm very surprised to see him not go further and continue to build his advantage there. Gonna get a couple of drones down here at the 6 o'clock-ish base. But so far, eGGz has been doing a very, very good job of defending. 5 meters on the way. It's an okay number, but it's really not where you want to be. The good thing for Erik right now is he's not being pressured as the meters are coming.
And the second good thing, I don't know if you want to check eGGz's vision really quickly here, but I'm not 100% certain that eGGz has seen this spire yet, Grant. He's got an overlord right near that main base. Has he spotted it? No. He is not. So eGGz actually might be caught a little bit more by surprise than he might expect, especially if you've got that overlord. I feel like when you look at your mini-map, you're like, oh, I got an overlord there. I know what I'm up against. Doesn't see that, though. It's not a lot of mutas, but it's just enough. And eGGz is going to be caught by surprise here. Hydralisk Den goes down. He should have plenty of time to crank out Hydras, but this is a nice little miniature win for Erik as he commits to a couple more Mutalisks. Going to have the upper hand just a little bit as this game progresses.
Erik's going to be able to take down these Ravagers relatively well. Muta's better against Ravagers if they are not armored. Oh, a nice bile there, actually, from eGGz. And eGGz is taking the fight head-on. With a lot of biles on both sides. There is also a spine here. It looks like Erik is getting the better of this so far. Keeping an eye on the roach numbers. He is down in roaches, but he does have 4 ravagers. Reinforcements coming in from both sides. But yeah, Erik taking a commanding victory there in that fight crate. And Mutas just doing too much damage, I think.
Yeah, it's not just the mutas. You're right. There's a lot of factors going down in the Roach v Roach fight. I think casual observers might be like, oh, you just bunch roaches up against each other and they fight each other. And if you're in the gold league, yeah, absolutely, that's what happens. Heck, if you're even in mid-masters, sometimes that's what happens. But these players know exactly what makes the difference between a good Roach fight and a great Roach fight. And we saw a couple different things happening there. Upgrade disadvantages, good focus fire by the Mutalisks, a superior concave from eGGz, which made the earlier fight look better for him. But overall, Erik just had better reinforcements, and eGGz wasn't all there at the same time. His army in 2 different clumps. And now we do see an even bigger, better drop going into the main as these Mutalisks continue to snipe Overlords and just be so pernicious.
Yeah, there's a lot of Overlords here, but actually eGGz lost so much roach supply. He isn't going to get supply blocked anytime soon. So, you know, it's the small victories we can take in life that we appreciate. But this base, this 4th base, this forward base is very low, and Sea Inerted is going to go down. The Muta count has been thinned out a little bit here, and Hydralisks are pretty good at this stage in the game here from eGGz. If you can get a good number with a lot of roaches to tank for them, they offer long range, high DPS, and of course they shoot up. But the main thing for them is they are good against roaches because they attack so quickly. But the armor upgrade is sort of negated just a bit here.
The real problem for eGGz right now, you're absolutely right, Hydralisks are great. The real problem for eGGz is, though, that he's a bit like a soldier on the battlefield who's been wounded by a gunshot in the heart. It really doesn't matter if you've got a nice like bandage for later in the game, if you got a good strategy. Right now, he can't afford to build Hydralisks. He's got to stay on this Roach Ravager. He needs as much bulk in the army as he can. If he stops and tries to transition immediately into Hydralisks, he's just going to get overrun on the ground by the sheer bulkiness of the Roach Ravager army of Erik. And of course, combined with these Mutalisks, Erik's just in such a strong position right now, economically, army supply, tech-wise, and even upgrade advantage. It's looking worse and worse for eGGz here, Grant.
Yeah, Erik making maybe a small mistake fighting with Mutas into the Hydras. Did lose quite a few Mutas there, but ultimately he is still up in supply here. He's now going to ram his roach head right into the roach head here of eGGz. There is just so many roaches here. No bile's able to connect. A lot of roaches coming down to reinforce here from eGGz. I think eGGz can stabilize and push him back, but look at the supply. Now, a lot of the supply is in production, but it doesn't matter. Erik with a map 1 win.
Yeah, it doesn't matter there. Erik took that really, really good fight in the middle of a map and was able to, that one big roach fight that sort of changed everything. We knew that eGGz was struggling a little bit, but Erik with those Mutalisks and with the superior roach numbers was able to do a really, really nice job. So that's going to give Erik the game #1 win over eGGz, which is a bit unfortunate here. I will say eGGz's teammate from Alpha X, Paco Mike, was the first player eliminated from Group A. So a bit of a rough start here for our Alpha X boys in the Latin America region. Of course, more Alpha X players in North America starting up next week. So the team is not putting all their eggs in the Latin America basket, but a rough start all the same for that team.
Yeah, Paco Mike impressed me yesterday despite being eliminated 0-2-0-4. You look at the scoreline and go, wow, he had a bad event, but he was actually quite impressive. And so far, I would say eGGz has been pretty impressive as well. You know, again, he's not had a great start. Currently sitting at 0-1-0-3, now 1 map away from elimination. Erik gets his first map of the tournament, which is nice. Of course, he'd like to take the series and go into that Survivors match against the loser of Gym Rising and Special. Sure. But he has to get through his first opponent. And right now, I think eGGz has got enough to take this to a game 3. I think we're going to... I'm feeling it, Crayon.
Yeah, I mean, eGGz's first loss, of course, we're in the losers match now. eGGz's first loss was a 2-0 against Special, who is the out-and-out favorite to just sweep this tournament. You know, he struggled last time, but I think it's still fair to say that Special's the out-and-out favorite to win this one. But neither of these players really looking forward to facing either Special or Gym Rising, who I think are both very strong contenders in Group B. Certainly the favorites as we get into the group stages. As we get out of the group stages to move on to that bracket stage. For now, though, Grant, I think we're ready to rock and roll into game #2. Our players may have switched colors on us, but we're still here.
Yes, we are, and getting into it. Playing for Alpha X in the southeast corner of Death Aura. He is the Colombian.
There it is.
Zerg player in the red, representing Alpha X's Latin American division. He's Eggs and Ham. No, it's just Eggs.
you almost had that Cockney rhyming slam going on. You could have just Cockney rhyming slang. You could have just been like, "It's ham," and then people would have.
People would have been like, "Oh, it's a bad joke," not knowing that.
Wait, that's not right.
No, not.
It's got a rhyme. It's got a rhyme with eggs.
Yes.
You know what? Never mind. Anyway, spawning in the top left-hand side in the blue, dropping down a cheeky early pool. Was that a 12 pool grand? It's our teamless Brazilian Zerg player, Erik.
I saw that moment of hesitation. Like,
that's right. That's right.
Crap. What? Where's he from? Okay, so we saw this yesterday as well. This is not, of course, an all-in by any means. This early pool is meant to generate a bit of pressure, force out a lot of lings, and make your opponent overreact, whilst actually secretly you're doing a bit of macro behind it. We'll see 6 lings come out and go immediately across the map. They will not be there in time to get a cancel on this hatchery, but they might be able to get like a queen or something like that. That's what you want. You want to force out loads of lings and not drones. Maybe get a queen. Throw your opponent off a little bit whilst you are attacking behind, because your opponent does not know with an early pool like this how committed you are until that overlord gets all the way across the map. So I like this build. I like to see a little bit of spice here. You can see he's even dodging overlord pathing. So this is going to be seen very, very late. Erik doing his own work here on Death Aura, and the benefit of a map that's been here for so long is that you do learn. And once you learn like this, how to dodge the standard overlord patterns, you don't forget it. So that's always cool with these older maps. And yeah, I think he will be looking to try and take down a queen minimum here as it pops up from the natural in about 45 seconds.
Yeah, as you said, those links completely undetected only just now as the Overlord sees that there's no creep spread at that natural, knows that he's gotten a little bit of an aggressive attack. But eGGz did not go hatch gas pool this build. He actually went hatch pool gas instead. So he did have a slightly earlier pool out, which does mean his 2 lings already there. His own lings did his own lings just take out one of his own drones?
No, there's a ling. Yeah, he trapped a ling. Which
I wonder what that was.
Really nice.
Right, cool.
Like, if you have 6 lings and you trap one of them, I mean, we can all do the math. I mean, everyone else on Earth except Grant can do the math. We know that you don't want to be losing it. Some nice control here from Erik, getting some pretty efficient trades, but you can see at the end of the day, it's very, very even. But eGGz has to go for that quicker Baneling Nest because he's worried about the follow-up.
Yep, absolutely. Good game knowledge there, Grant. Excellent work. The spine a bit much in the high ground. This belays a sense of a lack of confidence from eGGz, really. Maybe some distrust about his opponent. Again, these are guys who play each other, probably every day, twice a day on ladder, maybe. So they definitely know each other's style really well. And this actually is a huge boon for Erik, who's able to skip the Baneling Nest altogether and go straight to Roach Warren. The lings from eGGz will get in and see, Erik's lings get in and see the Baneling Nest. eGGz's lings on the other side see that Roach Warren. I wonder if we'll see the Baneling Nest canceled once this ling is killed off, and he's going to switch straight to Roach Warren from there. And that's exactly what we do see. eGGz cancels his Baneling Nest and realizes this is not going to be a Ling Bane battle. This is going to be a Roach Ravager battle, and Erik already has that advantage.
Yeah, both players starting that lairs, almost identical timings, but of course the Roach Warren is not down yet by eGGz, and that's starting to get a little bit disconcerting for me. eGGz is making a lot of drones. I'm worried that maybe he is under respecting the amount of pressure coming his way. That's a full wall that's going to have to be cancelled at some point. I guess he's waiting for the first few units to come out here. Erik, you can't let that building complete, mate.
Interesting. eGGz still is not put there. I was just about to say, still put down a Roach Warren. Finally gets it down. A little surprised to see him let that almost called an NG Bay.
Gotta be an Ida.
Yeah, I think so. If he's blocking off completely with those upgrade buildings, he's got to go for Nidus. The Lair Tech about to finish up. The gas count for Erik up over 100, and I think you may be absolutely right about this, Grant. Got to start moving those overlords in place, but Erik could be being a little cheeky. eGGz grabbing a third base. I'm not sure if he knows this is coming.
No, I don't think so too. I expect. I mean, when you see a full wall, I think the thing that you go to is, okay, what is he doing here? He's actually going to break his wall down. Okay, so I think it was maybe a mistake, and it's not going to be Nidus. I was starting to consider maybe he's going for some next level mind games where he is faking Nidus, and then he's going to go into a Spire or something like that. But that's not going to be the case. He does have to break down his own walls. But you know, those broodlings being effective in the trade going forward. Wow. And now we just see roaches spewing out here, but Erik has got a pretty substantial roach lead. He's moving across the map. His roach speed is quicker, albeit only probably 15 seconds at the very most. But if he can find a window, there's a possibility of a bit of damage, I think.
There is such a narrow timing window here for Erik. His roach speed about 15 seconds ahead of eGGz. His +1 about 20 seconds ahead of eGGz. If he hits with roach speed and +1 and twice the army supply, it's going to be such a fast fight that there will be no time for eGGz's upgrades to kick in. Now, eGGz does have more roaches coming across, and Erik's seen a lot of roaches, so maybe he's scared away for just a moment, but the rest of his roaches are streaming across here. Roach speed about to finish up here. +1 finished up for Erik. The timing window is rapidly closing, and Erik needs to engage now if he wants to win this game right away. There's already a Spire down for eGGz, so a bit of a counter timer coming down on the red side.
Yeah, I will say the spine being made earlier, I kind of criticized it as overkill, but of course it doesn't lose value going forward. Spines are always bloody good. And now we have the fight coming in, and I don't think this is the right fight for Erik. He doesn't have the numbers anymore, and that advantage, as you said, disappeared. Upgrades equaled out. The roach speed is finished for both, so Erik can't kite more effectively. He has no counter attack coming in here. A very, very nice start to the mid game here from eGGz, who now takes that lead, has more workers. Oh, okay. Now, it's cool and I love it, but it is a bit of a desperation move, I feel.
Oh, yeah. After throwing away that many roaches, he's like, I gotta do something. And this is certainly something, in fact. Burrowed roaches with burrowed roach movement on the way. That tunneling claws upgrade for Erik, but his third base so much later than eGGz. He's got no Spire. He's got no follow-up here. He's got to hope that these burrowed roaches keep his opponent on the back foot, but eGGz, Spire finishes up 500. He's going to make 6 Mutalisks right away, and these Mutalisks have not been spotted by Erik. Erik has not seen the Spire. He has no idea what's coming, and I don't think he's prepped for it at all, Grant.
No, I'm with you there. I do think this is going to catch him a little bit off guard, and 8 Mutas, as I said, is sort of that magic number, the higher end of the low single digits, really, is what you want. There's a lot of overlords out on the map. Luckily for Erik, he's not too far from home. He probably, as soon as he sees this, will be able to save at least 1 or 2 of the closer overlords here. But the Mutas may just choose instead to go across the map and be very, very... No, they are going to go... Are they? Where are they? Oh, Mutmuts. Okay, so they are just staying home. I think there's still a secret as of this moment. I'm not sure.
Until now, the burrowed roaches have spotted them. Now, there are 3 overseers on the map. Of course, eGGz has seen this burrowed roach upgrade coming, so he a little bit late, but he did realize it was going to happen. And he knows where they are now. The tiny visual cue, just like the observers have a little shimmer, those burrowed roaches just leave a tiny little trail behind him that's barely noticeable by good players. So he doesn't see the ones that are in the natural here, but he should split up those overseers because leaving them in multiple locations is so smart. Erik moving more roaches across the map right now. He's got a +2 against +1 upgrade. There's a very real chance for Erik to have a slight upgrade advantage here in the roach fight.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just caught a big group of roaches out on the map. This is really bad for eGGz. That's like 9-10 roaches that have just been caught for free. And now the supply is going to be pretty heavy in Erik's favor. And also the Mutas just aren't that good here, right? So you can see here, with a good concave, which so far Erik hasn't been able to establish. There we go. He's now moving in to get a better fight here. He's going to be able to win the roach fight pretty handily, but is there going to be enough roaches left over to do damage? No, there's just not. He's going to burrow and retreat here, which is nice. Of course, those roaches will heal and continue value, but at the same time, Creighton, the stab in the back, those burrowed roaches coming back to haunt eGGz.
Yeah, 10 drones and the Spire. That's not bad. Now, he's going to throw away a lot of army value for that, guys. Don't get me wrong. He will pay the price here. If he gets the third, though, this might be even the continued multiple prong pressure here from Erik is going to be is really surprising, Grant. I did not think he had it in him here.
No, this is perfect. Killing that third is absolutely... I wasn't massively confident that it was a valuable push and a valuable fight for a while. This isn't great.
Yep. Uh-oh. Fellas,
they can see you.
Still roaches in the main, though. It looks like there's muta pressure in the natural of Erik as well, though, as the Mutas take out a handful of drones, but not that many. Only 3 drones going down as mass spores have gone down in Erik's base. Roaches continuing to mess up the main and the natural, but now Erik finds himself in a very advantageous position. 1 base ahead, 18 workers ahead, even though his army supply is terrible, and he's got to get some response out to these Mutas, which he still does not have. Erik building, holy crap, Grant, 11 drones. What?
Yeah, Erik wants to power up now. I'm kind of surprised. He's going into Hydras. Okay, I think he was expecting there to be maybe more Mutas, and there is. Of course, there isn't. There's 11, which is still... That's not a number that you can just ignore. You do have to be able to deal with these Mutas at some point. If it was like 6, 7, then maybe we'd be looking at something a little different, but that's not going to be the case here. Erik is going to move up into Hydras. He's banked a lot of gas a huge amount of gas. But right now, his army supply is pittance, and we have a fairly large push here coming from eGGz, who's now equal on upgrades.
Yeah, look, all of those little hit-and-run guerrilla tactic moves were really, really cute from Erik. He did get some good initial small wins, but as you said, his army supply, just absolutely nothing. He's overestimated his hand here. He thinks he did much more damage than he actually did. And this is actually great for eGGz. Well, Erik's getting a bit of damage on the other side. At the end of the day, as much as I hate to admit it, you absolutely cannot win this game based on drones alone. You gotta have some army supply on the map, and even this small strike force from eGGz is gonna be way too much for Erik to handle.
Yeah, Erik's really, I think he had this, and I think he's grabbed defeat from the palms of victory here, because he was in a very good position. There's a few Hydras out, drones doing everything they can, but the supply tells the entire story right now. 66 to 140 almost. The Hydra's trying desperately to fight, and they are very good units, but there's nothing to tank for them. And the drone count, wait, no other player has any drones.
Yeah, this is weird. A very weird late game engagement, but again, it doesn't matter how many drones you lose here. The army supply is just too much to be ignored here. We're going to get a game 3 as the GG comes down, and eGGz draws things even. 1-1, Grant.
Yeah. And that's just what we wanted, definitely. This has been a fun ZVZ so far of two players playing really high-level StarCraft. And I think there's been a couple of small mistakes, maybe. But it's nice to see we go to game 3. Oh my god, what is this map?
You know, well, it's funny you mentioned mistakes, Grant. I feel like ZVZ is one of those matches where if you're a casual viewer, it's very easy to watch and say, oh, he really screwed up there. Oh, these run-bys, he should have known. He should have done this. How obvious it is. ZVZ, almost more than any other matchup, requires impeccable map awareness, map control. And since we as spectators have map hacks and can see everything both opponents are doing, it's very easy for us to sort of judge the players very harshly and be like, oh, he missed the flyby there. How could you be so dumb? Why is your army out of position? When of course you're playing against a player and you don't know where anything is and you're frustrated trying to deal with it. It's not so much that one player made mistakes or that one player was just straight up better and owned him. Just that little tiny things that are very difficult to do start to add up. Your attention is so demanding in these ZVZ games. So really, these have been phenomenally high-level games. Yeah. I love the Latin American region, Grant, and these guys always put on a hell of a good show, especially considering that of our 8 qualified players for the group stages, 5 of them are Zergs. And if you've played in the Latin America region, you know that's a pretty low number of Zergs for LatAm. These ZVZs are just finely tuned, and there's a lot of metagaming going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to.
Yeah, these guys are playing some nice StarCraft. I love ZVZ as well, and I love Roach v Roach. I just have a soft spot for it. But now, Creighton, we go on to the map that no one even knows exists. It is but a rumor to some players, but it is.
Is this the first time we've seen it all week, Grant?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. Well, first and foremost, in the top left-hand side, he's not quite in a yellow submarine, but he is a red player in submarine. It is our Colombian Zerg player from Team Alpha X. His name is eGGz.
That was a good camera spin. Jeez.
Yeah.
And his opponent in the bottom right, he is teamless. Representing Brazil, he is the blue Zerg player. It's Erik.
You know what's freaking wild, Grant? No 12 pools. We're gonna get a 14 pool from eGGz.
Yeah,
but no 12 pools, which is a little surprising.
We said yesterday that it was Jim Rising who does this really funky, like 14 pool, then no, he does 14 hatch, then gas. I think Erik's done it. 14. Oh my god! So you go 14 hatchery. Then you take a gas geyser, cancel it, then you get your pool. So you end up at like 15 out of 14, but with your hatch.
Yeah, he did that yesterday for us.
Yeah. So seeing a bit of that. No gas yet here from Erik, who is playing gasless, which Oh, both players are gasless. Okay.
Yeah, so slight differences here in the builds. We did see a hatch first into pool for Erik. He's finally just now getting his gas, and a pool first into hatch for eGggz. So one of those odd situations where there are going to be minor variances in the build, but just because of the distance on the map and the rush distance between the two bases, even though it's very short on Submarine, we still might see the players in similar situations once they're scouted. 6 lings coming out from eGggz, but Erik's spawning pool can be finished up very soon, and the moment his Overlord sees more than 2, oh my god, he's going to miss it. The Overlord misses the 2 lings popping out of the natural here. Erik actually does not see the first 4 lings coming out. He's only going to see the next 2 coming out, so he might not know that there are 6 lings his way. But like we said, because the rush distance and the builds being so similar, I think it's going to end up where Erik should be fine with 2 queens, already about 3/4 of the way done by the time eGggz's attack hits his natural.
Yeah, queens are pretty good in these low numbers here, and there are 4 lings as well. Most players make 4 defensive lings. 4 defensive lings plus queens is more than enough to deal with this. So as long as Erik doesn't throw away his first 4 lings immediately here as the queen pops out and here she appears, this is going to be pushed back, and eGggz is just going to be forced to carry on his macro game, which is what we want. We don't want any cheap free wins here for 6 lings. Now, moving forward.
That's interesting. Hang on, Grant. Erik started ling speed and actually had it going for a little while and then just canceled it, interestingly. No ling speed for eGggz either, and that could be indicative that both these players looking to go a little bit more macro than we might expect. Interesting to see the cancel there. And, ooh, eGggz is going to... Oh, no, he gets caught before he sees it. Doesn't spot it. There we go. eGggz starts his ling speed, but Erik, with a little more gas in the bank, what's it going to, Grant?
I mean, neither player is committing to ling speed here, right? Like, at this point, if you start it, cancel it, start it. I just don't think it's worth them then carrying on.
No. Erik canceled it. eGggz just started his for the first time.
Okay, eGggz just started his for the first time. Fine, I'm with you now. So we expect a roach run from Erik pretty soon. He is sitting on how many gas geysers right now? There we go. Just a 1, but I imagine he will take a second and possibly a third coming up. I think 2 is okay here. We can see +1 carapace coming in as well here for Erik. So Erik is going to have roaches and an upgrade advantage. And the positive thing for him right now is that the ling speed of eGggz is so late because he chose to get his gas a little bit later. There's not as big a window here where there's not going to be any speedlings and banelings for Erik in terms of defense. So I kind of like what he's got. I think the sort of coin flippy start we've had here, it could end up benefiting Erik a little bit with his lair already on the way.
Yeah, and again, we see the distinct differences in these builds. We've seen it go both ways this time. But this time, Erik is going to be the player who stays on 2 bases for a bit longer, and eGggz the one who cranks out those extra lings and goes for the 3rd base because he needs that larva. Ling speed finished up for eGggz, and eGggz actually going to have a great advantage here. And even it might be able to get a full surround. No, is able to get away here. But with the superior ling count, with the ling speed, he's going to have a much better engagement. And with banelings coming in the backside here, Erik's got to be very cautious that he doesn't lose a lot of key units.
Yeah, he has roaches on the way, but it's still a very low number. And roaches in very low numbers aren't great against lings. You really need to have 8 or 9 before you feel comfortable. So many queens are going down right now. eGggz has been able to break down the front door here, and he's going to get some drones. Oh, a little bit of miscontrol from Erik as well. Hesitant on sending all of his roaches into his main means he does lose quite a bit. We have more lings streaming in. Where are the banelings right now? It looks like they've been dealt with. Roaches, of course, very good against banelings, but there are still... Okay, yeah, this isn't bad. Erik now has roaches. And he has a good number. He has some lings of his own. And the roach weren't only halfway done for eGggz. But if I'm Erik right now, of course, I see what he can't see. Go for the full wall, or just go. Or, you know, go for a wall, leave 1 roach in it, and go. Because he could easily roll over his opponent right now with the amount of roaches he has.
Interesting choices indeed. eGggz only making 1 baneling there, by the way, and didn't get it into the natural. There's some pressure going down at the 3rd of eGggz right now as these lings move into the natural, and Erik is going to scout out everything in the main base of his opponent here. Nice little run by and sees the timing of all that stuff, sees the roach warren finishing up, but it does look like you're correct. Erik does decide to move across the map with that ball of roaches to pressure the 3rd base. eGggz with 7 roaches on the way, but none on the field. This could be devastating for eGggz if he loses this 3rd base.
The 6 in gas grating.
3rd base going to go down.
Yeah, 3rd base is going to go down here. And that's a lot of production gone down. We do see, I think a ling managed to get in and get a bit of a scout. Actually, 11 drones have just gone down for Erik. Was there a ling or baneling counter attack in the main?
Baneling, yeah.
Yeah, it was a banelings in the main. I think maybe some of the lings hid in the corner or something, and we missed it. I apologize. Been a long day. But Erik is doing a lot of damage to the other side of the map. It looks like with queen support and transfuses that Erik will be pushed back here. And now he's down 12 drones. He has the armor upgrade, but it doesn't seem to be benefiting too much. And he's going into Spire off of 26 workers. I'm not so sure, man.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. He'll, of course, be back up to about 32, but that's still a significant number of workers missing for Erik right now. Hard to do Spire on just 2 bases, but luckily Erik's just grabbing his 3rd base. So now, economically, Erik's in a better spot long-term, but in a very difficult spot short-term. So as is often the case in ZVZ, the worm has turned, Grant, and now it's eGGz's opportunity to rebuild his 3rd base, get on the map, and put some pressure. eGGz is working on his own Carapace upgrade, but again, just like the previous game, eGGz has not seen the Spire, and he does not know those mutas are on the way.
Nope, you're completely correct. No, what he hasn't seen, if we were to play devil's advocate, is he hasn't seen a big swell of roaches with his overlords that are far forward to give the indication that maybe there's a mass roach attack. And right now, looking at army supply, eGGz is a little behind in terms of roaches. Yeah, Erik has enough with his upgrade. He's not going to die at this point. So the mutas getting to the point where they will be a bit more effective. This roach run by Cute may be able to get a queen or 2 here. I'd like to see her go down. Yeah, nice. Targeting queens is always so good with small run bys because that's so important to the economy of a Zerg. I mean, how many queens? There's 1 queen on the field right now for eGGz, which means he cannot have injects on 3 bases. Erik only has 2, but that is still solid injects on his main and his natural. So he should be able to pull ahead in lava production. The Muta's 7 on the way, and there's... I'm kind of beginning to like it. There's actually quite a lot of Ravagers here, which Mutas can kill at a relatively good speed. So if Erik is to go for that, and it looks like he will, all Erik needs to do now is concentrate on saving his 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. Cannot overstate how good that Erik's push into the eGGz's natural was, distracting eGGz for just long enough to allow these mutas to get out, to allow a large army to really scale up for Erik here. The Ravager's going to try and get in, but Corrosive Bile should be dodged fairly easily here. And as you said, these mutas going to really start adding their damage on. Just 7 mutas for now, but that's just enough, as you said, to pick down the Ravagers. With no Ravagers in the Superior Concave, Erik's going to have a really nice chance of pushing this away. eGGz does have some Lings coming in to get better surface area, and the Lings may be able to add a bit of damage here, but eGGz is just losing all sorts of army supply right now. As more roaches are built on either side, these mutals are going to get more and more valuable. There's still no response, and eGGz knows it. With nothing else to fight those mutals,